JP, the Doomsday Economist. JP has his own website. He makes economic forecasts and political commentary based on astrological interpretations and psychic experiences. I'm sure that Cambridge will have a lot of questions for you.
Hopefully.
Now, how can our viewers get to your website, which gives
You can
more
look for the Spirit of Truth page. When I say look for it, that means go to Yahoo and look it up, because Yahoo will take you directly there. Or you can look for conspiracy news or stock market update. And after you look for that in Yahoo, the link will come up, stock market update or conspiracy news. And just click on that and that will get you to one of my pages.
Now, the Spirit of Truth.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Spirit of Truth? It's another word for the Holy Spirit.
Uh-huh. So there is a religious element in your theories.
Oh, absolutely. It's basically drawn from biblical prophecy more than anything else, based upon my experiences surrounding biblical prophecy, which we'll be getting into.
Okay. Well, let her rip. Why don't you just let Cambridge know what
Maybe
you're
we
thinking?
should introduce
Please do.
my welcome friend here, Physics Phil. He is now a doctor, PhD, just got his PhD, so he's Dr. Phil to you or me. And he'll just be sitting in the background, looking really annoying.
And really pretty.
Yep. All right, now, where was I going to begin here? Well, let's get into my experiences. Back during the Gulf War, in February of 1991, during the first week of February, I was watching TV and I saw, about 11 p.m., I saw a special report of a chemical scud attack in Israel. It was Tom Brokaw right there saying, we have a correspondent in Tel Aviv, I'm sorry, Haifa, it was Haifa, Israel right now, and they went to the correspondent and he said, yeah, there's a Scud missile attack underway and chemical weapons are involved. And as soon as it came on, the report went off. I checked all the stations. I actually yelled to all the guys on the floor. I was in the college dorm at the time, saying, you know, Saddam went and did it. He hit Israel with chemical scuds. And so everybody was curious. And we were watching the news, checking through the stations. There was no other reports. So I thought that odd.
Now, there are no illicit substances here. I mean,
No, that was
no acid,
straight as
no
could be. That's
ecstasy,
right.
no, okay.
I just saw the special report. It was just like seeing a special report. And the next day I checked all the news wires and everything else, and no such attack occurred, no such special report aired. I checked with NBC, nothing. So I thought that kind of weird, and I was thinking that maybe I had some sort of premonition or whatnot, but I was kind of passing it off.
Could have been a dream.
Could have been a dream. No, it couldn't have been. I mean, it was as awake as we are right now, like watching that monitor, and all of a sudden we see a special report. And then about a week after that, I was with a friend who just got interested in Nostradamus, and so I showed him some books on Nostradamus, and then I decided to show him a prophecy from the Bible that I've been following since I was young, because I believe it depicts a future nuclear war. And as I started reading this prophecy, all of a sudden both of us heard an air raid siren. And after a couple cycles of the air raid siren, we heard a nuclear explosion, to the point where we were scared enough to actually run out of the building, try and figure out, you know, what the heck's going on. Ran over to the library to get in the basement, you know, for safety, and called the fire department to find out what was going on. No sirens had sounded, nothing else. And so that was the second experience.
Could have been a gas alarm.
No. Then by connecting the two, I said, well, what we have here is the Persian Gulf War. It was during the Persian Gulf War. Somehow is it going to lead to a chemical scud attack in Israel and then to a nuclear war? And once I started asking those questions, I did some research and I found out that the Soviet involvement in the whole Gulf War was much larger than anybody understood at the time. But let me get into the prophecy, actually, that was connected with that experience here in Aries Rising. We got time?
Sure.
Okay. This prophecy is from the book of Revelation. It's chapter 8. It's called the Seventh Seal Prophecy. And it goes like this. When the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Then I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. And another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer. and he was given much incense to mingle with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar before the throne. And the smoke of the incense rose with the prayers of the saints from the hand of the angel before God. Then the angel took the censer and filled it with fire from the altar and threw it on the earth. And there were peals of thunder, loud noises, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Now the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets made ready to blow them. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire mixed with blood, which fell on the earth. And a third of the earth was burnt up, and a third of the trees were burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. And a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the fountains of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the water because it was made bitter. The fourth angel blew his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of their light was darkened, and a third of the day was kept from shining, and likewise a third of the night. Then I looked, and I heard an eagle crying with a loud voice as it flew in mid-heaven, Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth at the blast of the other trumpets, which the 3 angels are about to blow. Now, that prophecy strikes me as a rather graphic depiction from somebody 2,000 years ago seeing a global nuclear war.
So you feel that these supernatural experiences you had, combined with the indicators in the Bible of a nuclear war, as well as current world events, indicate that
that's where we're headed.
We're about to have a nuclear war.
Well, yeah, I mean, this prophecy, I already had thought depicts a future nuclear war, but my experience confirmed that in terms of hearing air raid sirens and nuclear explosions, along with somebody else in connection with it. And not only did it confirm it, but it seemed to indicate that it was prescient, that it was something that was, for our time. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, and I'll go through this real quick. First off, it talks about a space of half an hour at the beginning of that prophecy. Mm-hmm. That's the time it takes for ICBMs to traverse their orbits from Soviet Union, or now Russia, to the United States. And that's followed by peals of thunder, loud noises, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. It's nuclear explosions. And then a third of the earth is burnt up, all the green grass, the massive fires that would follow nuclear war. And then it talks about a great star that fell from heaven, wormwood, poisoning the water. Well, that's interesting because in the prophecy, the word wormwood is actually capitalized and emphasized. The Ukrainian word for wormwood is Chernobyl. So it seems that Chernobyl is the wormwood, radioactive poisoning, and that would explain why many men died of the water that was made bitter by this wormwood. It's radioactive poisoning. And then at the end of the prophecy, it talks about a third of the sun being struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars. And that's like the sky being darkened by nuclear winter. Mm-hmm. So each phase, it seems to be an accurate depiction mm-hmm. of what the different stages of a modern nuclear war.
And this was written 2,000 years ago.
2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So you have to figure from somebody seeing it at that time, what would it look like, and mm-hmm. he has to put it in his own terms. And the wormwood connection is just like another modern time connection that indicates that this is for this time.
Okay, now what else about current events leads you to believe that there will be a nuclear war?
Well, in connection with that prophecy, the wormwood in Chernobyl, well, Chernobyl raised an interesting point because, basically what I've concluded through all my experiences, so much to explain. Look up conspiracy news in Yahoo if you want to get a full explanation. And that is that the collapse of the Soviet Union, everything we've seen up to now that leads us to believe it's peace for our time, mm-hmm. is actually fraudulent. Mm-hmm. It's a farce. And the idea is that, we're being misled to instill a false sense of security in the United States and the West, mm-hmm. so that we'll drop our guard and so that the element of surprise is secured mm-hmm. for this coming attack. Okay,
so the nuclear holocaust is going to be caused by Russia.
Russia, and it's intentional. It's something that's been planned. Mm-hmm. And, there's numerous reasons I believe this, but one of the reasons is actually astrology.
Okay.
And that's because a lot of these events that we've been seeing going on from Chernobyl on the fall of the Berlin Wall, Gulf War, the war in Yugoslavia, all the major events seem to be timed according to astrology.
So do you think that means that the astrological conjunctions are making these events happen?
No, it's because, I mean, it could be the mystical forces of astrology. I believe it's more likely, though, that you have certain world leaders, certain world people in positions of power who believe in astrology and are shaping history according to it.
Are there
Much like
any ones
Hitler
in
did.
particular?
Yeah, it's Phil saying Adolf Hitler did this. In World War II, he planned his campaigns and a lot of his political moves, major steps along the way of his rise to power and the war he waged according to the stars, according to astrology.
And which leader in Russia is doing this?
The mastermind, I believe, behind all this is the guy who started it, Mikhail Gorbachev.
Okay, so it's Gorbachev who's behind the potential Third World War.
Yes, I think he's the Antichrist.
Ah, and so that's where the religious beliefs tie in as well, the religious prophecy and
Yes,
interpretation.
Yeah, specifically the prophecy, in the book of Revelation, the Antichrist is not like Hitler. The Antichrist is somebody who comes across as a benevolent leader and is actually going to try and make himself out to be Christ as the world savior. And he's going to deceive the world that people will actually believe this. And, Gorby, he got rid of the Soviet Union. He seemed to end the specter of nuclear war. So this guy is adored. He was Times Man of the Decade. Hitler was Times Man of the Year in 1938, by the way. And so that's just setting the stage. And I believe that ultimately he's going to seek to establish, if you will, this global dictatorship based on Russian Orthodoxy. They're actually getting rid of communism to replace it with Orthodox Christianity. And in other words, he's going to establish a global church.
Oh, but it'll be based on him as the Antichrist, but as the unrevealed Antichrist.
Well, right. I mean, he's going to make himself out to be Christ, and that he's establishing his world church. That he's here to save the world. In other words, and that's why the way the war is being started is being done such a way, using Serbia and Iraq, so that the United States and the Western powers go in and bomb Serbia and Iraq, and thereby, we're bombing these major long-term allies, historical allies of Russia, that this is going to elicit, a violent reaction from Russia, or it's going to lead to supposedly, these chaotic events like a military coup, and possibly the rise of a right-wing dictator like Vladimir Zhirinovsky, who will come in and press the button and blow us to kingdom come. And then Gorby can come back and seemingly remove this guy from power. Of course, the KGB is still in control of everything that's going on, and at that point, whatever is left of the world, he'll be held in very high esteem. He'll be worshipped for saving the world from whatever Russian madman they put in power to wage World War III.
Well, that's interesting. Well, why don't we open up the phone lines
Yeah, let's do
and
that.
see what questions Cambridge
You
has
did.
for us. All right, Cambridge, our phone lines are now open. The number is 876-0055.
And put it on the screen. Oh, it didn't take long to get a phone call.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the Psychic Fashion Show.
Hi, my name's Nuno. Who's that guy in the back?
It's me.
That's Physics Phil.
Really?
Really?
Use a Gillette razor.
A rather large one.
Well, Nuno, what's your question?
What's the topic?
Biblical prophecy.
And
Wait, I don't even know what that is.
the impending nuclear war.
Oh, that's not gonna happen.
As long as the majority believe that, then it will be a surprise.
Oh, just show me your tits.
I hope you're not talking to me. All right, thanks for calling the show, Nuno.
What was I going to say?
Wow.
Hello, you're on the Psychic Fashion Show.
All right. Can I ask you a question? Can you tell me if he has a boyfriend? Can you tell me if he's doing anything behind my back?
Actually, we're not doing psychic predictions today. We're talking about JP's theories.
Okay.
So do you have any question about current world events and astrology and the impending apocalypse?
Hi, I'm sorry, excuse me? Hi, I'm sorry, this is her sister?
Yes.
Paula's sister? You're talking about astrology, is that correct?
That's right.
And is that just the basic signs, the birth signs?
Well, what we're talking about right now is world events and astrology.
Okay. You mean just basically like famous people and what kind of signs they
No, that's natal or tabloid astrology. That's for individuals. I'm basically discussing, or I can discuss, astrology with regard to major world powers shaping historical events according...
So do you mean like the president and what he did and stuff like that regarding astrology between...
Similarly, but I'm talking about dictatorial leaders like Hitler, but this...
Oh, I see.
But in this case, we're talking Serbia, Iraq, and Russia in particularly.
Oh, I see. Okay, then I'm sorry, then we must be confused.
Did you have a question?
No, I just thought you said astrology and I was thinking about birth signs.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes we do shows on astrology, so please feel free to call back then, and we'll work on your birth sign.
Going to give a for instance? Chernobyl?
Yeah, let's give it for instance.
If we're going to talk to...
Wow.
They can't get enough. What can I say? Hello, you're on the Psychic Fashion Show. What's your question?
I think they hung up. Chernobyl occurred when there was a lunar eclipse conjunct Pluto. Now, Pluto is a planet of plutonium, nuclear energy. So it's, one heck of a coincidence to have it on a lunar eclipse conjunct Pluto. But I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it was intentional. Right, it was timed. Which means Chernobyl was not an accident.
So you're not actually arguing that astrology is driving world events. You're arguing that the person driving world events is using astrology to drive
because they believe in it, correct.
That's an important distinction.
Just like Hitler did.
Right. Hitler did this, and
Hello, you're on the Psychic Fashion Show.
so is Gorby.
Your show is pretty cool. I like it.
Well, thank you.
What's the gentleman's name that's doing the prophecies?
JP,
JP.
the Doomsday Economist, I might add.
Is he? I'm an economist as well.
Ah, cool.
JP, I was wondering what you're planning to do. What are you going to do to prepare if you think these things are going to happen? I tend to agree with you.
There's,
Well, we'll start by trashing his apartment.
yeah. I try and let my life be led by God, and I built a fallout shelter in my basement at one point, but the way my life circumstances went, it became clear to me that that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So if I'm taken out with everybody else, so be it. I'm not going to leave my family and friends and everything if they're not going to react to what I see.
Yeah, you must feel kind of helpless though if you think all your friends and family are going to die.
That's right, very, very helpless. And I've been I've had problems with depression because of it, but you just get to this point where when it happens, if it happens, so be it. And the odds are, in my mind, it's basically definite during our lifetimes.
I agree. I think nuclear weapons, once everybody has these available to them.
But before it happens, we'll start trashing the apartment.
Yeah, well, of course, what I'm saying is that they're going to be used in mass and intentionally by basically Russia's entire arsenal.
Well, I mean, if we perceive that, Russia's threatening us with multiple nuclear weapons, whether it be them or someone else that actually launches them, we're gonna strike back pretty hard, I'd say.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree, and that's like disbanding the Soviet Union was very important in terms of now Eastern Europe is safe, Kazakhstan.
I mean, with the disbanding of the Soviet Union, now you have all these smaller countries that, there's really no control. Actually, you mentioned Chernobyl. You know how they cleaned that up? They paid basically Russian peasants to go in there and collect the uranium, which is basically the key ingredient to a nuclear weapon. They go in there and they can actually collect this. They're going to die within, I'm not sure how long, months, I'm sure,
but their family will be taken care of.
There's uranium on the black market, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I understand, but I'm saying, and that's the perceived threat, and like in our intelligence community, that's the big worry, is some rogue state or terrorists using nuclear weapons. But I'm saying it's Russia proper, and their huge arsenal that's going to be used for effectively what will be a preemptive strike against the U.S. and I mean a total nuclear war, not some sort of isolated action.
I think your perception of the prophecies in the Bible, you said you grew up learning these things?
No, I actually the first time I heard the prophecy I read before was in The Day After. And
that movie, the teachers all tried to make you watch it.
Yeah, well, they were in a burnt-out church, and there was this pastor reading this prophecy, and you know, I heard this prophecy, and I was like, I can't believe it. It's like such an accurate depiction of a nuclear war.
But also, I heard you reading parts of it. One part was mountains from the sky would fall into the sea. That sounds to me more like a meteor.
No. No, it talks about a great mountain burning with fire.
Which exactly
something like a great mountain burning with fire.
It penetrated our atmosphere.
Yeah, but something like a great mountain burning with fire strikes me as a nuclear explosion.
It could be, but you have to agree that's your perception of it.
Well, how'd you say? There's multiple elements that, in combination, lead me to the conclusion that it's a depiction of a nuclear war, a total nuclear war.
Yes, actually, JP explicates this quite sequentially on his webpage.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the page?
Spirit of Truth page. Just go to Yahoo and look up Spirit of Truth page, or look for Conspiracy News.
Or I will do that.
Or Stock Market Update, and there's a ton of material in there. But yeah, I mean, and also consider that, you know, in the context of reading this prophecy, my friend and I heard narrate siren and nuclear explosion, which seems to substantially indicate, I believe in a supernatural fashion, that that's what that prophecy, the chapter 8 from the Book of Revelation, seventh seal prophecy, you know, that's what it's of.
It's serious stuff. You know, I'm thinking about going up to New Hampshire and building myself a nice little shelter, like that guy on Martha's Vineyard. Do you hear about that?
The guy who lives underground?
Living underground.
Yeah.
Why not build yourself a nice fat pad underground?
Yeah.
You know, build some skylights, lock them down, get
Yeah.
some fresh air and water. You could live down there for 50 years.
Well, only if I can have cable TV.
Oh,
yeah.
Might have to be the way to go.
Oh, yeah, you can't live.
Might want to be on that satellite too.
Yeah, you can hook up a satellite dish.
Is this normally a psychic show?
Yes, it is. This
Are
is the
you a
Psychic
psychic?
Fashion Show. I do tarot card readings on the show.
Where
but
do you normally have a shop as well, or I'm not sure what to call them?
no, actually, no, I don't.
Because
only-
I live right in Porter Square.
Ah, well, you know, you should call the show some other time when we're doing tarot card readings.
Oh, cool, because I live right about the Cambridge School of Culinary Arts, and there's actually a tarot card reader right across the street.
Ah.
It's actually, I don't know, I thought maybe I recognized you from around that area, but I could be wrong.
Well, you probably recognized me from 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
On the
Oh,
show.
That's it. From the last show?
That's
I
right.
assume that's what that means?
That's right. Do you have any more questions for JP?
No, I'm sorry. But the guy in the back, I don't want to insult him. Is he a normal guy?
I'm a doctor.
Physics?
Yes.
He just got a doctorate, believe it or not.
A great thing. You know, it may not be the coolest thing, you know, to the younger kids, but, you know, you can do a lot with physics. You know, your car goes off the road. If you know physics, you're going to get it out of a ditch.
Oh, what's that supposed to mean? It means that guy normal. What kind of question is that?
It's not a question. He's just saying how wonderful physics
I'm
is.
actually, I'm saying that physics is pretty cool. Where I grew up, physics is not a cool thing to be doing. You know,
Well, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Weymouth, which, you know, I basically played sports and
but Weymouth is
and after girls, you know, that was what I did in high school.
Yeah, but number one, Weymouth is metropolitan Boston. I mean, you know, it's a college environment.
Trust me, none of my friends are interested in physics.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, that's too
I
bad.
actually went away for school too, though. So,
Well, Phil will tutor him.
No problem.
where did JP go to school?
Same place.
We're from UConn.
UConn, huh?
Yeah.
University of Connecticut.
Yeah, Spirit of Truth page is actually on the UConn
in
server.
metropolitan stores.
Yeah.
And what do you do as an economist?
I'm actually, believe it or not, I started all this in market analysis and long wave theory. And based upon long wave theory, I concluded that we're at a major cyclical top, historic top. And the nature of the cycles is that at peaks you have irrational optimism, irrationally positive expectations. And it was in searching for what would cause the ultimate upset of expectations, the ultimate crash, that I had these experiences indicating Third World War. In other words, the downswing, which will outline the collapse of Western civilization, is a Third World War.
Right, I definitely see increasing magnitude to our current wavelengths. Look at the stock market, you know.
Well, that's actually where I'm focused on, is stock market analysis. And what I'm saying is this: what we're looking at is the grand supercycle peak in the stock market. You can find more information at my website, but also check out Elliott Wave International, and that's elliottwave.com. And that's the long wave theory that I focused in on. And that's where my studies of economics were.
Now, if you were born, you know, whatever, 60 years ago, you might have felt the same way about the Industrial Revolution, actually probably a little longer ago.
Well, it's like in 1929, at the peak, you know, it was a golden new era for the economy. Nobody expected a Great Depression and Second World War.
What's to say people at that time wouldn't look at that as possible end to the world because we're growing too fast and we're seeing these explosions of population and
Well, yeah, I mean, there was,
In 1929, we did not have the means to do that.
yeah, in 1929, I'm saying,
We didn't have the means
and
to
the same thing
as
as,
now.
as 1929 it is now.
And they had guns, they had, grenades.
Well, they didn't have nuclear weapons.
Think that you,
But not
you
enough-
think
We gotta wrap up.
Okay, we're wrapping it up
Sorry,
here,
I'm
but
talking too long.
No,
I have
thank-
to say, the host, you are a beautiful woman.
boy, thank you.
And so am I.
You're pretty cute. That's there. Glasses. Like the beard, too.
All right,
So
thanks
do
for
I.
calling
Thanks
the
for
show.
calling.
And thank you, Cambridge. Are we out? All right, good.